It feels like deja vu for the Portland Trailblazers because, once again, this may be the most crucial offseason in recent memory for the franchise. While the Blazers just stumbled through their worst season in a decade and a half, they still have a dynamic superstar in Damian Lillard, and they've essentially gutted their roster in order to rebuild around him, but here's the catch. Lillard is already 31 years old, and he only has a couple more kicks at the can, so the Blazers, who have tons of cap space and flexibility at least this summer, can't afford to take their time building their roster back up into a contender. Insert Deandre Ayton, a rim-running, versatile, and dynamic center who, by all indications, seems to have played his final game in a Phoenix Suns uniform. Not only could Ayton fill a need for a team desperately looking for ways to insulate Lillard on defense, but at 23 years old, he could be a building block for whenever the post-Lillard era starts in Portland. And while the Trailblazers have a lot of things they need to address and quickly, Ayton is the key to turning them back into a winner fast. The former number 1 overall pick, Ayton, has had a whirlwind of a first contract with the Suns. He was solid in his first 2 seasons, but paled in comparison to his draft class counterparts, Luka Doncic and Trae Young. In year 3, Ayton, under the tutelage of Chris Paul and Monty Williams, refined his approach on both offense and defense, and ultimately became the anchor of one of the best teams in the league. He was a massive reason why the Suns clinched their first finals trip since 1993 in 2021. Despite that, the Suns opted not to offer Ayton a max contract extension heading into the 2021-2022 campaign, where he showed out, putting up the most efficient scoring numbers of his career. And after an unsightly early playoff exit at the hands of the underdog Dallas Mavericks in the second round this season, in which Ayton was benched in a hard-to-watch Game 7 for reportedly quitting on the team, it's safe to say the situation in Phoenix is hardly copacetic. With Ayton a restricted free agent this summer, both sides may be looking to move on, and that's where the Trailblazers come in. Of the 5 teams with the available max cap space necessary to sign Ayton this offseason, the Trailblazers are really the only team that gives him a chance to compete right away. Needless to say, he also fills a huge hole for Portland. While Jusuf Nurkic is a fan favorite and was dynamic for the Blazers in their 2019 Western Conference Finals run, a string of injuries have really limited his abilities on the defensive end, and the soon-to-be 28-year-old no longer has those quick twitch reactions needed to clean up the defensive mistakes made by Lillard and company on the wings. Ayton would, no doubt, be an upgrade for the Blazers at the center spot. Offensively, he and Lillard together could pair to become one of the more interesting pick-and-roll partnerships in the NBA. With Lillard's ability to space the floor and put pressure on tilted defenses, Ayton could be free to operate as a short-roll threat where he's at his best. According to Cleaning the Glass, Ayton shot 56% on all mid-range shots last season, ranking in the 94th percentile for his position, and did so on a steady diet of floaters and push shots from inside 10 feet or popping out for a short mid-range jumper. That adds a certain level of pizzazz to the Blazers' offense and takes the pressure off of Portland's guards in Lillard or Anthony Simons to always be creating something. However, where Ayton's skill set is most necessary for Portland is 100% on the defensive end. Since Lillard was drafted by the Blazers, Portland has ranked in the bottom half of the league in defensive efficiency in 6 of his 10 seasons. A lot of that has to do with the Lillard and CJ McCollum pairing not being able to hold their own on that end, exerting too much effort on offense while being too limited defensively as undersized guards. That problem will most likely still exist with any Lillard-Simons backcourt again, but Ayton would go a long way in compensating for their defensive shortcomings. He isn't a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year like Rudy Gobert, of course, but the Blazers could use a similar defensive system as the Jazz if they landed Ayton, with their weaker perimeter defenders funneling offensive players into the paint, leading to a contested shot over a towering rim protector. Last season, opposing players shot 44.3% on shots contested by Ayton, which all in all is pretty incredible. He's also good in space, making him a fine complement to a guy like Lillard, who struggles fighting over screens and switching onto bigger, stronger wings. In terms of players available this summer that help address the Blazers' needs and Lillard's needs, there's almost none that come close to Ayton. So what would a potential deal look like? The Blazers do have the ability to offer Ayton a max contract outright. They can do that and simply hope that the ambivalent Suns don't match the offer. but the most likely route would be a sign-and trade that would actually allow Ayton to earn slightly more coin in the process. There's also the possibility of a double sign-and trade where the Blazers send Nurkic, a free agent himself this summer, to the Suns, along with wing Josh Hart in exchange for Ayton. But that would require a lot of maneuvering. Not only would Ayton have to be very keen on joining Portland, but Nurkic would also have to agree to terms with the Suns, and Phoenix themselves would also have to be willing to facilitate the deal. But it's possible, and there's definitely enough pressure from Lillard to make a big swing in the offseason. And the Suns don't want to be left empty-handed by letting a former #1 overall pick go for nothing. So Ayton ending up in a Blazers uniform is far from a pipe dream and could be a reality. But Portland's offseason checklist doesn't stop there. Even with Ayton, the Blazers absolutely have to address their defensive woes on the wing if they want to turn this ship around quickly. That's why they've been linked numerous times to Raptors forward OG Anunoby and Pistons forward Jeremy Grant, two of the best wing defenders in the league, both of whom have shown an improved ability to create their own shots on offense. Either of those guys would come at a steep price, however. The Blazers do have the 7th pick in this year's draft to attach to any one of their young and intriguing prospects in Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, or Trendon Watford, or even the more veteran Hart to pursue those guys. But regardless, and somewhat surprisingly, the Blazers front office has positioned themselves in a way that gives them a considerable amount of flexibility and license to be aggressive this offseason. With a lottery pick in this year's draft, a bevy of prospects, a $21 million trade exception, and max cap space to offer up. Ultimately though, this master plan doesn't go into motion without Ayton signing on as the Blazers' big get. If Portland hopes to squeeze another memorable stretch out of whatever's left of Dame Time's prime, they need Ayton, and they need him now. Thanks for watching. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, hit that subscribe button.